So let's begin for this week. So we are entering the precision of some of the other movement. So I'm just going to do a small demonstration, and we're going to go into two different movements. So in those two movements, one of the things that it's very important to focus on, once again, we are kind of reviewing the whole form with the intention moving outside of our body. So intention when we have a repulse monkey, okay? So when we push our hand out, important to have intention in both hands. So actually for those who begin, or if you can always try to focus more on the other hand, the intention, much more than this hand pushing out, because usually we have too much intention using the push, while actually to distract that intention to the point that we have kind of an attention to pushing, and we use force. So it's better to focus on the other hand, which we don't have at all intention of pushing, so that it creates a balance of more like an awareness that we are extending our intention, extension of the intention outward, extension of intention to the ground. That's both intention that we have to execute. And when we turn, think about the turning is not only in our structural turning, but also the turning, it's actually an intention moving outside to turn. Yes, the pivot point, it's here, but we are not thinking about where we pivot, but instead it's actually a projection of our intention that allow us to pivot. So allow us to pivot. Yes, the intention in both hands, but the pivot point, even though the axis is here, but we are projecting. We are also projecting. Okay. The projection would create, as I mentioned in the previous week letters, that it's actually create an opposite force. Opposite force meaning the form maintain a certain middle ground, the axis. The form allow us to find the axis, but at the same time, we go outside of our body to project our intention. So we observe something that is much further than the body, and we observe everything from the outside to the middle ground, to the middle of our axis. So which means that this projection allow us to take conscious of what happened all the way in our upper body, all the way in our arms, our back. So it's the projection allows us to scan actually, or to take conscious of everything that happened naturally within the time frame of our axis and the point where we project. So the other thing also that very important in this period of practice, so it's try to really focus on standing on one leg. So even if we have our foot outward, our heel seems to be touching the ground, but try not to put weight too much on the heel. And better, even that the heel, it's actually just barely tiptoeing or the tip of the heel just barely touching the ground. So anytime we can actually change position, and it's not going to affect our position. So we are actually bearing our weight and balance on one leg. Okay, same thing. Once we move forward, the back of our leg, now it's free. Okay, so it allows us when we do the second movement, when we moving towards outward and we turn, this foot allow us to be free. And also, we tracking or actually straightening our back. When we straighten our back, so when we talk about intention, yes, there is intention going up that straighten our back, but at the same time, it has to have intention. Where are we standing? In order for us to feel much more balance, okay, in order to create that balance point. It's in the beginning, it might be a little bit challenging, so don't try to force it out. If you feel tired, go back to the position where you have 2 feet on the ground, and also maybe even start transitioning to the next movement. Because we know that in Tai Chi, we never actually it's even though we do it step by step, but it's not static. So we are standing on one foot, but very soon we are actually standing on the other foot. And then very soon we are standing on the other foot once again. Okay. Same thing with moving backwards. So we are standing on one foot. This foot becomes free and it goes back and align and we sit backward. So if you feel tired or if you feel like not enough strength in your leg, then maybe even accelerate to the next step. Okay. So that avoid overtiring your muscles, your joints, your nerve, especially if you already have some weakness in your leg, don't try to force it. Okay. In terms of the other movement, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So once we have pushed back, we turn our hands, put our hand out. So turning our hands, think about the idea of not where the axis is, but bigger. So it allows us to release everything and be conscious of what's happening inside, and putting our hand out by projecting the idea out and not using only your elbow. Push our knee out. This one, there's not much of an intention. It's just opening of our groin area, and then pull it back. Put it back here. There's 2 different intentions. One, it's the whole thing here that dropped down. And the second, it's the whole thing here that actually open our elbow. Open our elbow. This intention of pointing to myself actually exceed to my body. Exceed my body on the side and turn. This turning, very important. Yes, there's an axis, but the turning, it's much bigger. In order to retrieve, once again, alignment to the head. At the same time, I want to make sure where I stand. So there is an opposite force that it's created, and foot out. This is very light. And down, turn, and both hand out, hand, intention projecting direction of your index finger. And then transfer weight. And bring everything in. It's not only half of it that brings in, everything comes in. And hands together. Hands together, same thing, projection. Very important about the projection. The projection, as I mentioned, it's a projection which allows you to be outside of the body, so we are not focused on any joints, to not interfere with our muscle, to not interfere with our nerve, so that we will have much more feedback of what we call relaxation. So to sum up, also very important, we will talk about relaxation. Okay, the relaxation, when we talk about letting go or release and relax. So no matter the term that we use, I think that there is a definition now when we are practicing the internal form a little bit more in depth. It's important to define. So when we talk about relax, so usually when we relax, we just let go. Okay, we let go. So I have my arm here, I let everything go, I relaxed everything. So in Tai Chi, we are not trying to achieve relaxation. Okay, we know that by doing a relaxation, there is much less obstacle for us to stretch. Like for example, if we do any type of stretching, more we have tension, more we have muscles that is at work, less we have the flexibility, less we have the extension. So we know that we need to kind of relax in order to have that extension. So when we talk about release or open in Tai Chi, we are talking about, yes, there is this relaxation, but we want to go a little bit further. One of the way, as I mentioned, to go further, it's put our intention outward. So it's like a little bit like the follow up of the relaxation, but it continue further outside of the body. So this is a mindset that it's something that we have to start incorporating in order to start really developing our consciousness, the connection of what letting go and releasing exactly is. So to tell you a little bit of what's upcoming is that when you practice, you might feel that you have infinite level of release. So when you put your hand out, then you want to release out. Doesn't mean that you are stretching or there's nothing moving in physically when people observe, but your intention tends to move out, and you relax, but you go further after relaxing, and then move out. Okay. And this opening of your joints, you feel that maybe even your palm is opening, your arms is feeling lighter. It seems to be on an infinite level. So, and this is what we call the release that we want to achieve. So, and we don't want to reach the maximum. So, it's a matter also of pace and speed. So, if we all of a sudden just open up everything, then it kind of reached to a flowing kind of intention, but at the same time, we don't in the beginning, we don't want to go towards there. We just want to sense that process of opening. And once we relax, and then we continue to project our relaxation outside, that create kind of a much more space of relief or release or open than just relax. Okay, so might be a little bit more abstract for some, but if you are practicing the form, so one of the things very important is that yes, you do have to try to relax first, but at the same time, you have to project a little bit more outside. Some other way to practice, they might do some stretching and all that, but depending on the age or the capacity of each member, I think that we have to respect each one, and you know what are your level that you have to respect. Same thing when I talk about standing on one foot. If standing on one foot, you lose balance, you have other issues that cause you to not to have that much of a balance. So it's something to maybe try to adapt a little bit in order to not to exactly stand on one foot for too long. Okay. So standing on one foot, it's something that it's very important to realize that our center of gravity, actually, it's much better when it's stand on one foot. As I mentioned in our last practice, it's that when we are trying to balance ourselves, usually it's much easier, no matter are we inclined or when we are in the subway or the bus, it's much easier to balance our direction, the whole body on one foot then on two feet, then we have to kind of follow because we don't have a point where we can pivot our weight. So, and that's one of the reasons why the Wu style, they talk about like our posture, it's quite pivoting because we are actually focused on one foot in terms of our standing. So that's about all for today. So we're going to go into, please continue to take awareness of your breathing. Okay, as I mentioned, it's coming up. So just pay attention, or not only actually attention, but just be conscious about how you breathe. And the consciousness should focus on your nose and not everything else. Yes, you might sense that, my lung is moving, or my abdomen is moving, or even my back is moving, or when I breathe in, everything moves. Take conscious of it, but if you want to focus on somewhere, go back to your nose so that you are not going to amplify it with your attention. Okay, so hope to see you in the practice or see you in the next video.